How are you guys tonight? Welcome to the Cozy Lung Lounge.
Doing great. I'm Kelly, respiratory therapist with the Cozy Lung Lounge.
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm the exercise physiologist.
And I'm Gina Hoots, your respiratory therapist, health coach. We're so glad to have you today.
So we thought we would do sort of a Christmas edition since Christmas is coming. If you ask me, it's here because I look around and everybody's decorated and et cetera, et cetera. But we thought we'd do a Christmas wish list edition. What are some things that you as a COPD or a lung patient might want to ask for Christmas? Or maybe if you're a caregiver or family member, what could you give your loved one to make sure that they have healthy lungs all for next year?
Well, I think we've got you covered from head to toe. Amy, what about you?
Absolutely. So the first thing that, of course, I want to talk about is exercise because that is kind of where I love to be. That's my specialty. And there's a few things that are super easy to have around the house that are relatively inexpensive, that are great Christmas presents for any of our pulmonary patients. The first one is the portable cycle ergometers. So they're just little bikes that you can put on the floor. If you're watching TV, you can sit on the couch and cycle with your legs, or you can use them on the table to cycle with your arms as well. It's just a really great lightweight piece of equipment that you can use around the house for some endurance exercise throughout the day. And then the other piece that I really like are just exercise bands. They come in lots of different resistance levels, and they're a lot easier to store and to move around than weights around the house. So if you had a 20, 30-pound weight, those are heavy and they get in the way. And so those exercise bands are so much smaller and lighter weight and easier to have around the house. And there's tons of different programs, on YouTube, or of course, we at Blue Zone have our online pulmonary rehab program as well that people can use those exercise bands with. So from an exercise standpoint, I think that would be what I would recommend for a Christmas wish list.
Amy, what about those pedaler ergometer things?
Absolutely. So the best ones to get for the cycle ergometers is probably something that's a little bit more compact. They're probably only 1.5 feet long by maybe 1 foot tall. Those are a lot easier to get compared to like a big exercise bike, like a Peloton or some big brand like that. Those can be a little bit easier to tip over. So especially if you're worried a little bit about balance, or if you're looking for something that's just a little bit easier to use, those smaller ergometers are definitely better and just easier to have around the house. They're less expensive and they are less risk of a fall or feeling like you're off balance.
One of the things I heard from my rehab patients is they bought a cheapy one online and it was so light. As soon as they put their feet on the pedals, it just scooted away from them. So make sure you get one that's heavy enough that's going to stay in place while you're pedaling and cycling on it.
When we tried out a few different versions, the ones that I did not like was kind of the A-frame ones that are collapsible that just look like a little triangle. Those don't work very well because those are so lightweight and they're a lot easier to tip over. But if you have something that has more of a sturdy, solid base to it and is one kind of big box with, or the two pedals on the side, they're a little bit heavier and those tend to do better. The other good thing to look for is the rubber grips on the bottom of the cycle so that they don't slide around on the floor as much. So if you're looking at the different small ones, those are two things to look for, is that bigger, sturdier base and then the grips on the bottom.
I kind of like the idea. I'm big on hydration. So I like the idea of a reusable water bottle I like one like this because then you can get stickers and personalize it with all kinds of things just to make it fun and make it yours. But hydration is really, really important. And so if you don't like your water that comes out of your tap, or you don't like the water that comes out of your refrigerator, go ahead and just buy water and have several. Have a bottle in your car, at your workstation or desk, in the kitchen, in the bedroom. Buy a lot of water bottles and just make sure that you're staying hydrated. It's very important.
Kelly, did you want to go into a little bit more about why hydration is so important and why water bottles may be so helpful?
Definitely. So it's important to stay hydrated anyway. But one of the things when you have COPD, you may have a lot of secretions, a lot of mucus. The more water you drink and the more hydrated you are, the easier it will be to cough that mucus up and out. You don't want that stuff staying and pooling in your lungs because you could get a really bad infection and pneumonia that way. So you want to keep those secretions clear out of your lungs. The easiest way to do that is just to stay very well hydrated. And the question often comes up, does coffee count as hydration? Does tea count as hydration? Well, depending on who you ask, but I say no. And Amy and Gina are shaking their heads. No, it's caffeine in coffee and tea can actually dehydrate you. So just plain water. Some people like to put those flavor powders in there. I'm not a fan. That's full of chemicals and artificial colors, artificial sweeteners. Those are just plain inflammatory. So please stay away from those. And just buy a brand of water that you like if you don't like your home water.
And what are some ways that you could flavor your water or make things a little bit more interesting? Because some people really do think water's boring. Sometimes I think water's boring, and I would love a good old lemonade, but I know that that's probably not as healthy as some different ways to flavor your water.
There's all kinds of ways to flavor your water with fresh fruit. So you could put lemon, orange, and lime slices in. Some people like cucumber in their water. Some people, I like strawberries. Don't forget, in the winter, there's always frozen fruit. So you could get peaches with some ginger. They have dragon fruit. You could do dragon fruit with lime. There's all kinds of stuff you could put in there and just infuse the flavor. There's also some infuser water bottles or some infuser pitchers. So it has like a centerpiece and you put all the fruit in the middle, fill it up with water, let it sit for a little bit in your refrigerator, and then you have a whole pitcher full of yummy infused water. Gina, how about you?
I've got a few things. One is this fancy sweatshirt I'm wearing. You can get that from the COPD Foundation. This is I Love O2. It's got some cute little lungs there, nice, bright, cozy lung lounge wearing material. I've got a pulse oximeter here. So every pulmonary patient should have a pulse oximeter. We'd like you to have something a little bit more durable and reliable than you might find on some of these really discounted sites. We can go into this more in the future, but for pulse oximetry, you want it to be a steady reading on your finger that matches your heart rate. Everybody should have this. It's not for sitting and resting on the couch. It's for when you walk to the mailbox. Check your numbers then. And then I also have a couple of things that I'll put in the show notes that I like people to use. One's a book, a 52-week guide to COPD, and another one's COPD Blues. It's a music recording by my friend Al Keith, and he really does a good job of teaching people how to manage their COPD while they're singing songs. So those are just a few fun things that I've learned as a respiratory therapist to offer. Of course, I am one of the Blue Zone health coaches, so please sign up for one of my group sessions coming up. We've got Saturday mornings or Monday night. Join my small group coaching will also be fun for our COPD patients.
Gina, I wanted to ask a little bit more about the pulse ox and kind of what to look for when you're searching for a pulse ox, either for yourself or to buy somebody for Christmas. What do you need to kind of steer clear of or to look for?
Well, you can find these everywhere. I've even seen them at a grocery store, and so you don't find them only at medical supply stores anymore. They're everywhere. As low as probably $10 on some. They can go as high as several $1,000s for the hospital versions, and you'd want something in the middle for your own. Um, really, just a little bit of research to see if the brand that you have has been approved by the FDA. Um, and then ultimately, you'll want to make sure you put it on yourself and make sure that it works for your body. Is it check your pulse with your pulse oximeter? Is it all matching? Does the number seem reasonable? If it always stays at 96, no matter what you're doing, it's probably not working. We want it to fluctuate a little bit. Goes up a little bit sometimes when you're exercising, may go down a little bit when you're exercising. But those are the things that you need to know. One thing people will like to check it upon waking. Well, once you're awake, the numbers that you were asleep have gone away. And so sometimes we do these overnight, and that's a little bit different machine that your home care company would provide.
Perfect. And Kelly, I know you also have some online stuff as well. Did you want to tell them a little bit more about that?
Sure. I have an online program called COPD Success. And within copdsuccess.com, there's a section for fibrosis and ILD patients. There's a section for asthma patients. There's a section for kids with asthma. And also I have a couple of ebooks, and I have a program called 30 Days to Breathing Easier, which is just one short little email every day for 30 days with a tip on how to breathe easier. So all those are available. Those links will be in the program notes down at the bottom.
Did you want to talk about the concentrators and the non-concentrators?
Yeah. One thing that families like to help grandma and grandpa out, and some of my patients don't qualify for oxygen, but they're short of breath. And there are a lot of concentrators on Amazon these days that you can buy for $100, $200, $1,000, many different ones. And I reviewed a few of those, but they're not the same kind of oxygen concentrators that you get from a medical supply store. An oxygen concentrator takes the air out of the oxygen out of the air and concentrates it into 100% oxygen or close to it that comes out of a flow and then into some sort of mask or nasal cannula. The oxygen non-centrators, we're calling them on some of the sites that you can buy just outright, don't concentrate the oxygen, but they rather just take the oxygen and flow it towards you. So it's kind of a glorified fan. One of them I reviewed did have the specs, and it said it gave 33% oxygen. Well, that's just a touch higher than what's in the air. So it might get you a little bit, but it's not going to really support the shortness of breath like you would want when your oxygen level is dropping. Now, if you're short of breath and your oxygen level is not dropping, a concentrator is still not going to work for you. You need the exercise and other kinds of pieces. So steer clear of the concentrators and oxygen devices you see on Amazon and other sites, and really look at the specs to make sure you're getting what you need for your body.
And just a note on concentrators, if it says it goes up to 5 liters, it doesn't. It's a number 5 that's relative to the other numbers, and all it means is 2 is a little more flow than 1, and 3 is a little more flow than 2. But as Gina said, some of them aren't concentrating anything. An actual concentrator is going to take the air and scrub all the CO2 and nitrogen out of it, and what you're breathing in through your cannula is oxygen, but you're still diluting that because it's never going to be enough for you to feel like you get a deep breath. So those are never 100% oxygen. The other thing not to get your loved one is those cans of oxygen that they have in sporting goods. So now they're kind of everywhere, but those are for people who are hiking and, up at high altitudes and feel like they need another shot of oxygen. I don't know if it does anything. It is oxygen, but I don't think it's enough to make a difference.
I did review those while I was looking for the items for today's podcast. There's 5 liters of oxygen in that bottle. So a total of 5 liters. If you think you're getting 2 liters per minute, well, that would be 2.5 liters of oxygen, 2.5 minutes of oxygen in that bottle. So it's just really just a puff, nothing that's going to do anything for you, for your lungs.
No. And the other thing is, if you buy things like concentrators from Craigslist or estate sales or things like that, oftentimes those concentrators still belong to the company that rented it to them. So, for example, somebody's left a concentrator behind, that company is going to come to pick that up, only you've got it. So now when you go, a lot of those haven't been cleaned properly, they haven't been maintained properly. So something happens, it goes kaput, and you call the company and say, how do I fix this? And they go, oh, you have our concentrator. And so you want to be careful of that. But also a lot of them are dirty. They have not been maintained. And I would just say, no, thank you to those.
How about perfume? I would not think, no perfume for anyone. It's hard on your lungs. Breathe it in. Hard for people to breathe.
Those body sprays, scented candles, not that you would buy anyone this for Christmas, but if you happen to have in your house scented anything pretty much. If you have Glade plugins, those are my #1 offenders. That's the first thing I tell people to do. So you have Glade plugins or those Glade things that push air freshener out, throw those away.
Perfume can really take your breath away.
Absolutely. Scented lotions. Another thing I tell people to throw away is those Downy Unstoppables. Scented laundry detergent, scented anything. Get rid of it.
Right now, my husband loves to have those dryer sheets, and I keep saying, let's use the balls, the wool balls. And so it just push and pull back from what you're comfortable with versus what the education might teach you.
And, for someone who is addicted to dryer sheets, because a lot of people are, you can cut them, you can rip them in half and then cut them in half again. So you're using only 1/4 of a dryer sheet, and there's enough stuff on there to get your whole load of clothes soft. So if you absolutely have to have those, buy the unscented, but you can save a lot of money by cutting them into quarters.
Well, and one great thing that we could even add to the Christmas list talking about the dryer sheets is those wool balls. Those could be really great for your dryer and can be really helpful for when you're drying clothes. And I do know that some people tend to put essential oils in there. Do you guys think that that would be a better alternative to the dryer sheets, or that you should stay away from the essential oils in there?
I think the essential oils, if they're pure oil, is okay. So you can buy a pure lavender oil. You can buy a pure, lots of oils. Just make sure that make sure you want to smell like that all day, first of all, but make sure that they are natural oils. They're not synthetic. So they will soften your clothes naturally because wool contains lanolin naturally. So you don't need the stuff that's on the dryer sheet. So it'll soften your clothes. You could scent them with natural oils if you want to.
And why do the synthetic smells tend to bother our pulmonary patients so bad?
Those synthetic scents are made of something called phthalates. And what those phthalates do is they hang in the air. So for example, let's say you do a Glade plug-in or you spray Febreze all over everything. So those chemicals are made to just hang in the air for hours at a time. So you're walking around your house, you're breathing in all these phthalates, which is a form of a plastic. And if you do that long enough, that's going to get stuck in your lungs. Those little particles get stuck in your lungs, and after a while, they build up, and they just wreak havoc. They're very inflammatory to the lungs, not to mention to your skin, your eyes, everything else.
Did we want to talk a little bit about different home decor things that may be do's and don'ts?
I'll talk about just home decor in general. A lot of home decor is nothing but a bunch of dust catchers. I don't know how else to put it. I have little plants up on top of my kitchen cabinets. My kitchen cabinets don't go all the way to the ceiling, so I put these little buckets of plastic plants up there just to give it a look. So the other day I went to go take them down and clean them, and I looked and went, holy cow, there's a whole lot of dust up there. I'm not going to do that.
In decorating, I like to go a little bit more simple for the dust, for one thing. But also, when you have your house decorated to the nines, it's really hard to think and absorb everything. So sometimes it's just overwhelming and gets you really anxious. So minimalistic sometimes can help with that. The other thing is if you have trouble getting around your house or you might be wearing oxygen, all of these things can catch your oxygen tubing and cause you to trip or fall or do those sorts of things. And that's the last thing you want to do is have a broken hip for Christmas.
Gina, you started to talk about fluffy rugs.
Would anybody buy a fluffy rug for Christmas?
Maybe not for Christmas, but if you have one, it's really difficult to keep those clean. You can vacuum them, but it's really hard to deep vacuum them. Someone else, not you, someone else needs to go shake them outside every so often. But yeah, those the other thing that's popular is those little throws. Yeah, the fluffy throws. I forget what they're called, but again, those just harbor dust. They need to be taken outside by someone else and shaken out almost every day, especially if you have pets that like them.
Speaking of home, one thing that I always have found helpful, as somebody who definitely struggles with my allergies, is an air purifier for your house. I have one, it's just a little one, but it is a Filtrete brand, and it has really helped with my allergies and with my breathing. And that may be something that will help reduce the allergens in your house and make breathing just a little bit easier and cause less irritants in the air.
Kelly's cat is making me think that I need a mask and an inhaler because I'll start to wheeze as this cat's tail's getting me.
Duck.
No, so a little bit sometimes if you're for me, so this is really very applicable for this time of year. I have to go to a house for Christmas dinner that has cats. I know that either I should not go there or I'm going to have to plan ahead. So I take an antihistamine when I go, an over the counter that doesn't cause me drowsiness. And I do have a PRN rescue inhaler just in case I get really tight. But I plan ahead and take that antihistamine because I do want to spend time with those people at holidays.
Absolutely. And if you have pets yourself and you notice that you struggle a little bit when you're around your pets, have someone else be the person that feeds them and bathes them and brushes them and takes care of them, because it shouldn't be you if you have any kind of lung issues, honestly. Someone else should be taking care of their grooming and anything having to do. I know people love having their dogs and their cats curl up and cuddle, curl up in your lap. But if it kind of makes your breathing tight, think about maybe I will never ask anyone to give up their pets, but how much time do you spend with them? Could someone else just do all the grooming, keep them very, very clean?
The air purifier can be really helpful, especially if you do have pets and you have COPD or asthma or anything like that, where your pets tend to bother your breathing a little bit. That can really be a helpful tool to have around the house. You can have multiple for multiple rooms. So that would be a great thing to add to the Christmas wish list.
And there are some that are small, like desktop size. I just bought one that's about, I don't know, it's about 8 inches tall. It's a little cube, 8 inches wide. I think I paid $50 for it. And it's got a removable filter inside. So I know that it's doing its job. And yeah, it doesn't have to be some big, giant $400 unit. You could just get something, even the small, they used to be made by Febreze. Now I think it's Hamilton Beach makes them. You plug them in and flip them on. It's just got a little filter that's only about this big, but that'll do the job, just to keep the dust and the pet hair from getting to you.
Well, a little bit on a fun note, I know that one thing that people get for Christmas all the time is clothes. And this might actually really help with our exercise piece for our pulmonary patients and would be a fun Christmas gift. Because a lot of times exercising is difficult, and sometimes some days you just really aren't motivated to exercise. But I found, especially with myself, that one of my favorite things to do is go to the gym in a fashionable gym workout outfit, or it just makes me feel a little bit more motivated and excited to be out and to be exercising. So if you're looking to get somebody clothes for Christmas, especially if they are one of our pulmonary patients, definitely consider some fun workout clothes or some fun workout tennis shoes that they can feel stylish and they can be excited to work out and excited to wear their new clothes and get into some good exercise.
I love new workout clothes. It is so motivating.
Definitely a snazzy matching tracksuit, some fun tennies to work out in, something to keep you warm to get there and back.
So that would be definitely a really fun one to get people for Christmas.
Two things that some families might be getting. If you're from a family that has a lot of smokers, you want to help each other quit smoking. Years past, you might have gotten ashtrays. I don't see ashtrays in the world anymore, but there's a lot of shops that sell vape pens. And so there's a lot of fancy ones. They do all kinds of different things. While they might look like they're a way to quit smoking, not really a good, safe way to quit smoking. So don't waste your money on the vape pens. Something else is not a gift, but comes along the same things. Bad for your lungs is Primatene Mist. So I talked earlier about having cat allergies with my inhaler and spacer. Well, albuterol or Symbicort or whatever I'm prescribed is one thing. You can get Primatene Mist over the counter, but it's very hard on your lungs, very hard on your heart. It's epinephrine, so it makes you shake like crazy, and it really can cause more problems than good. If you feel like you need to use a medicine like that, really get some healthcare provider to check you out. If you don't have a regular one, use an urgent care or something like that, and they'll get you hooked up with the right kind of medication for your lungs. I took a Primatene Mist tablet, a half a tablet one time many, many years ago. Ooh, I still remember that about 30 years later. Lots of shaking, lots of shaking.
My mom sucked on Primatene Mist like it was nobody's business all day long.
Ooh,
Yeah,
ooh.
until, finally she had a couple of episodes that landed her in the hospital and they were like, don't use that. She's like, it's the only thing that keeps me going all day. And I thought, oh, I finally learned when I became an RT. It's like, that stuff is horrible.
And that's where a health coach can come in. What is really, what's the right way to do things? What's not quite the right way? You're not sure what your doctor told you is right or not. A health coach can really bounce a lot of those ideas off and find ways that work for your household and your specific situation.
The other thing too, and we can plug this in anywhere, but is it's true what they say, before starting any kind of exercise program, clear it with your doctor. Make sure you're cleared to exercise, especially if you have anything else going on like diabetes, any heart issues, anything like that. Make sure your doctor says it's okay to exercise. If you have a pulse oximeter, things like that, make sure that you've been cleared. Okay, thanks for joining us for another great session of the Cozy Lung Lounge. We will finish our podcast with 3 great big deep pursed lip diaphragmatic breaths. So everybody in through the nose, pursed lips, blow it out. In through the nose, pursed lips, blow it out. In through the nose, breathe in the good. Exhale all the stress, pursed lips, blow it out.
Thanks for relaxing with us in the Cozy Lung Lounge, where we're all about helping you breathe better and living your best life. Don't forget to subscribe and follow for more insights, tips, and inspiration on your journey to cardiorespiratory health. Until next time, breathe well and thrive.